All right, my friends, I have been chanting literally for the past 8 hours straight, and my face is numb, almost tingling, and I feel really, really good. Anyways, so I wanted to do a video on projection, and this is gonna be a really powerful topic because projection is something that everybody does, but doesn't really understand that they're doing. So projection is when somebody or something basically pushes their point of view outward into the world. Not even particularly onto a singular person, but a lot of times it's just unconsciously like taking your worldview and just being that. And then by being that, you're projecting. And hold on. Nice. Anyways, by being that, you're projecting your consciousness. So every time that you think about something, you're projecting your consciousness. And what do I mean by this? So when I say, say I think about puppies, then I'm projecting my consciousness over to whatever visualization that I have of puppies. And what that means is that every time that you think, you are literally like moving yourself into a different space in a way. And this is why thoughts are so powerful, and why affirmations and other things like this are so powerful, and why chanting is so powerful, is because it moves you into a different space of consciousness. You start to project new ideas and situations onto yourself, meaning like you start to believe that you are a different type of person, that you are a more loving and carefree person. You start to believe that you are more of a literal God in a human body, which you are. You are God in a human body. And projection also, it happens, and then I'm going to go also into how other people project onto people. So a lot of times it happens where the projection is unconscious from one person, but if it's projected from an emotion that is very, very powerful. And remember that anytime that anybody thinks about somebody, they're projecting their consciousness to them. So no matter whatever you're thinking about, you are projecting yourself, and you're projecting your worldviews onto whatever it is that you're thinking about. So this is how energy transfers work also, and recognizing now that thought and the streams of thought that you choose to tap into are where you push your consciousness to. And you're living in multiple realms at the same time. So we may be living in this physical realm, but also you're living in a mental realm. Also you're living in an emotional realm. Also you're living in a spiritual realm. And all of these things are overlaid on top of each other. The physical realm is just the most kind of surface level realm that you can see. But once you start to realize that there's more than that, then you start to see that you can unravel these layers and go back in layers and see it's like the physical realm, and then you have like the mental realm, and then you have like the emotional realm, and then you have like the causal plane, or actually the astral realm, and then the causal plane, and then you have formless consciousness, and then you have the Godhead, and then you have just pure unadulterated consciousness, which is just nothing, literally absolutely nothing, except for the fact that you're conscious and you feel love. Like love is the only thing that is in that state of consciousness. Like literally that is it. And this is just to show people, first of all, like to show you that it's possible to move your consciousness into a different realm and to live in these different realms even while you're in this physical body. The physical body, normally the things that keep you from accessing these higher realms are toxins in the physical body, for one. Repetitive habits that are built up throughout your lifetime that you do thinking that you're making yourself feel better, when in reality it's just rebounding and making you feel worse. Basically any kind of attention that you put on to any other people other than you is causing you to lose touch with your own consciousness. What I've been doing is I've been so aware and conscious of my own attention that I can even walk through, say, a Whole Foods while chanting Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, and literally not even like have my attention on any of the other people while they are like people will look over at you thinking that you're crazy or something like that. But I know in myself that I'm chanting to God, and I also know that that other person who's looking at me is God. So as soon as I look at them, then I just see God in them, and then they recoil and then leave rather than like coming up to me. And although some people have come up to me in order to tell me how much they appreciate my energy and other things like that, but that's on the other side of the coin. Point being, though, and I know that I went off topic there for a minute, but that stuff is also important when it comes down to projection too, because it's all about projecting the consciousness. Projection happens, and then I'm also going to talk about how to defend from projection as well, meaning when other people are projecting onto you, how to recognize that and tell the difference between your own thoughts and other people's thoughts. Think about it like this, like say you're talking to somebody, and this also especially happens with people that you know really, really well, but you're talking to them, and then all of a sudden they feel frustration or aggravation, and then they look at you, and as soon as they look at you, they then assume that you're feeling frustration or aggravation because they're feeling frustration or aggravation. Then they take that state of consciousness that they're experiencing and they project it onto you, and then you experience the physical sensation of aggravation. Meaning like what would normally be considered the sensation of aggravation, but just the physical aspect of it. But as soon as you feel that physical aspect, then you actually attach a mental mind activity or thought to the fact that that physical feeling that you felt, based on your previous experiences, has always been the feeling of aggravation. Not knowing that if you just change the way that you look at the feeling, meaning like you see it as being a physical feeling coming into you, you feel the physical feeling, but you recognize that physical feeling, all it is just a random feeling flowing through you. And I know that it doesn't seem random because the other person's looking at you, but the other person is just a catalyst. Remember that too. Anyways, they're projecting this stuff onto you so that you can respond differently. But this feeling that you're feeling, all it is a physical feeling. And if you can sit with that physical feeling without putting any kind of connotation to it, then you can actually allow yourself to let go of the mental connotation and therefore let go of the negative feeling. And what will happen is that physical feeling that used to be interpreted as aggravation will then turn into something more like a rush in a way. It'll feel like a rush, like a positive kind of, sorry, check it out. A bunch of church people are starting to walk by. Anyways, but like it'll feel like basically like an adrenaline rush, really. And then that then moves it into the solar plexus, because when you're experiencing that, it's a sacral energy. And then you move it into the solar plexus by feeling that rush. And then you take that energy and you feel grateful for it. And then you move it into the heart. And then you express that gratitude that you felt for being able to transmit and transmute those feelings. And then that moves you into the throat. And then once you move into the throat, then you can directly contact or communicate with source energy. And you can start to activate your pineal gland and open your third eye. And once you start to open your third eye, then all of a sudden the entire world changes. You start to see everything as being a projection of yourself. You start to see everything as being projections, literally, like other people and things and places and everything like that is just projected from your own consciousness. These are all aspects of your consciousness that you're experiencing through other people, places, and things. How to defend from projection. This isn't something particularly that you have to defend from. It's more along the lines that you have to start taking the things that you're experiencing in a different way. You have to recognize that when people project their pain onto you, and what it feels like for somebody to project their pain onto you is for them to say to you that they assume that you're feeling this specific feeling. So say that they're assuming that you're feeling the feeling of aggravation, or they assume that you're feeling the feeling of sadness, or they assume that you're feeling the feeling of like whatever, and then like whenever they assume that they're feeling that, then they act as if you are the one who's experiencing that, when in reality it's them who's experiencing it. And to recognize it's in the moment, you have to detach yourself from the drama. You have to detach yourself from the need to be able to cling on to the words that the other person is saying as if there's something that's actually true about you. You have to recognize that the truth about you is that you're formless, infinite consciousness, and that there are no mistakes, and that there are no problems, and that they are just in pain, and they're just projecting their pain onto you. And then you feel compassion for them instead of feeling whatever they're feeling. And then you basically are able to transmute your own feelings. And then through sitting in that energy of that healed kind of state of consciousness, then you can actually, then you can go back to that situation or person or whatever. And then in that state of consciousness of love and acceptance and understanding, you just basically like look at them lovingly. You really that's all you do is you just look at them lovingly and you project love onto them. And that's all you do. Just sit there, and then like they're gonna go through their whole spiel. They're gonna like say all the things that they're upset about or whatever. And it's like, don't even worry about any of that stuff unless it makes you feel really good. And then if it makes you feel really good, then you can actually go into it with them. But basically, if somebody starts trying to complain to you, that's them projecting their pain onto you. And so as soon as somebody starts trying to complain to you, basically just be like, okay, yeah. And then just disregard that. You know what I mean? Completely ignore it. Like, don't even give any more attention or energy to that. Also, whenever somebody tries to start an argument with you, recognize that you don't have to prove that you're right when you know the truth. You know what I mean? Like when you know the truth of the situation, you know the truth of everything, you can take yourself out of the situation. I mean, like, you don't have to just sit there and project whatever you feel is the right thing onto the other person. If they're not ready to pick up the lesson, then you're never going to be able to actually do anything for them. They have to be ready and able to be able to even experience that lesson in order for you to even be able to get anything across to them. So my suggestion is to only really preach your point of view to people who actually come up to you first, instead of thinking that you can change other people's points of view to be in alignment with yours. That's never really going to happen, because these other people are different aspects of consciousness than you are, so they're always going to see things a little bit differently, and that's okay. There are going to be people, once you start to like see where you are, there are going to be people who resonate with you, and there's going to be people who don't resonate with you. See what I mean? Those people who don't resonate with you are generally in a lower vibration and have an inability to even be able to pick up any of these lessons. So it's pointless to sit there and try to do it, because they're just going to keep projecting their state of consciousness onto you, trying to pull you into a lower vibration. You see what I mean? So it's very, very important to become aware of your projections and your perceptions, and to start to gain control over your mind and redirect your attention to things that feed your soul rather than things that drain your soul. And things that feed your soul is anything where you're chanting love songs to God, anything where you're exercising, walking barefoot, anything where you're eating really healthy foods, anything where you're like going out in nature, getting sunlight, you know, any of these are all things that I like to do or whatever. But you know, like, you can find the things that you resonate with, you know, that work for you, but just make sure that they're things that make you feel really, really good, and keep searching for more things that make you feel even better. And just keep searching for things that make you feel really good, and put all of your attention onto that. And then eventually you'll stop feeling the negative feelings, and you'll really only project yourself to places and things that make you feel really good. And even when other people project their negativity onto you, then you'll recognize that that negativity that they're projecting onto you is actually their pain, their suffering, that they want you to join in with them. And if you are ready to release suffering or relinquish suffering, then you have to be willing to relinquish that conversation as well, because it's no longer serving you. As soon as somebody starts trying to project pain onto you, suffering, then that conversation is no longer serving you, and you don't need to be around it, no matter how convincing this person is trying to be. It's not worth it. It's better to just distance yourself and then come back whenever the heat has settled. It's also better to kind of just take a breath in the middle of the conversation than it is to sit there and stew in different emotions and feelings. It's okay to stop for a second and take a deep breath. that helps a lot to redirect your attention and to bring yourself back into your center point. But very much like part of this thing is projection. And I know that I went off on this different parts, but it's all about really projection. And projection is, it's something that is inevitable in life. But if you learn how to project correctly, meaning like if you learn how to project your consciousness to the places that you want it to go, rather than your consciousness projecting you to the places it wants to go, meaning like the consciousness may want to go into lower realms just to be able to experience it. You see what I mean? But like, if you don't want to experience that, then you have to choose not to move into those lower realms. And you have to do that by redirecting your attention into something that makes you feel better, and recognize that lower realms are just negative emotions and feelings, and then higher realms are just feelings of happiness and euphoria and bliss. And these things are all just like, they're all on top of each other, and they're all available at the exact same time. All you have to do is just take your attention off of the negative stuff and start putting it onto the positive stuff. And then you'll slowly start moving your consciousness over towards the new spot. Or some people who become spontaneously enlightened, you know, they just kind of just jump from here over to here, and which is cool too. I mean, that works really, really well too. But not many people are able to do that. So it's sometimes a little bit more difficult to just, you know, shift yourself into an exceptionally positive state, even though it is very possible. And it seems to be, I mean, I had to go through a bunch of suffering in order for it to like shift though. Like I literally, like, it was bad. It was, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like a month and a half, 2 months of straight ego death, where I started to like, I was picking up on all the negative energy of everybody, like everybody's negative projections. I was just like picking all of it up. And I felt what it felt like to be suicidal. I felt like all this stuff, but like I didn't have the urge to kill myself or anything like that. It was more along the lines, I just experienced so much like downloads of information all at one time, and like but like I also went through my own hell, and then I came out the other side, and now it feels like I'm in my own heaven. So, you know, it is what it is. But anyways, the more that you project your consciousness to love, the quicker that your life will become beautiful. And the external world may not change at all. You may not make more money, you may not have more friends, but you'll feel a connection with something that is always there, as if you always have a friend with yourself. And it'll feel like you have the most loving mother and father and friend and brother and sister and whatever you want it to be with you at all times, in order to be able to communicate with you and send you the most amazing, beautiful, wonderful, absolutely divine feelings that you've ever felt in your entire life. I hope you guys enjoyed this, you know, this video or whatever. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.